allegedly, Dune Messiah has been greenlit, and Timothy Chalamet is allegedly already sharing some spoilers. Straight off the bat, straight away, first and foremost, Andre, what do you think about Dune Messiah?
You mean the book, the story,
The
or the
potential of it
fact
being
that it?
adapted.
Here's what I think about it. I hope that they start filming it before part two opens. I hope that they commit the money to it already now, so that there's no way that they can go back on it when Dune Part 2 underperforms, which I fear that it's going to. So I want to see it happen. I just want like one complete Dune trilogy, because we almost had it before. Well, actually, in a sense, we did kind of get it before in the sci-fi miniseries, but they stopped short of the God Emperor of Dune, not because Children of Dune, which also includes an adaptation of Dune Messiah. That's the first episode of Children of Dune for the Sci-Fi Channel. That's Dune Messiah. But they didn't go all the way because yeah, look what Tom has there. Nice. But yeah, they simply changed strategy. I would like to basically see the entire storyline of Paul Atreides, his
Yeah,
rise and
that'd be
his
good.
fall. So I hope that this happens, and for that reason, I haven't read the story yet. If it's greenlit, fantastic, but it's not enough that it's greenlit. They need to start filming it before part two opens.
I think you
Because if
might
they don't,
be.
yeah.
I think you might be all right here. I think with the momentum the first movie made between video and on HBO Max, and the fact that you have two of the hottest stars in the world right now, I think he's going to do okay, Andre.
I hope so. I hope so. But because here's like the thing, my issue is this: the first movie was the only movie that I can think of to be bailed out by the lockdowns and the pandemic, because it opened not during the height, but because of the situation that was right then. It opened simultaneously in HBO Max and in theaters, which means that it got the free pass. Everyone was like, okay, this is not a
Still
normal
made $400
situation.
million though.
Yeah, it still made 400 million. But we don't know what it would have done under a normal situation. We don't
True.
would it have
I think
done
we're about to
600
find
million?
out.
That's what I mean. And I
And I'll tell
don't
you how
know
we'll
what the
know.
results are going to be.
Kong, because Kong did just 100 million more. And we argued for a while that sucker could have been $1 billion hit had it not been on HBO Max at the same time in theaters, but actually open.
Yeah.
I think a similar problem with Dune. I think the
Yeah, I
sequel,
agree.
I could be wrong. I think the original movie could have done about $800 million, which I think was where we all were kind of predicting it was going to fall. And I think the sequel is going
Yeah.
to probably do $600, $700, $800 million too. It might even do better than that, Andre. I mean,
Well,
I know a lot of people who have
yeah,
seen it now that didn't get to see it when it first came out.
What did I think about it?
true.
Because
They
my
like it.
worry,
It's
Yeah.
cool,
a
good. I'm
lot of
glad
people
to hear it.
enjoy it.
Because my
Yeah.
worry is this, that it's not visually exciting enough, that it's too dry, it's too bloated, it's too long, and it's too boring. And
That was my issue
for
with it.
quite a few people, maybe too many to warrant a part three is going to feel that way. And my worry, and I could be completely wrong. I could be completely wrong. Nothing would make me happier if Dune Part 2 makes 900 million, 1 billion, and they proceed with Part 3 so we get the complete Paul Atreides trilogy. Nothing would make
Yeah.
me happier than that. My worry, though, because I think that director Denis Villeneuve, he went a little bit overboard with some scenes. Having read the script was, I'm not going to say that it was more action oriented because it wasn't, but I think that he went a little bit overboard with emotion and making it like a visceral experience. It wasn't enough words. It was like it was bloated. It was bloated and a little bit pretentious. And my worry, and I could be wrong, I hope I'm wrong. My worry is that fewer people than we would like and fewer people than Warner think are going to come back to see this one in theaters. I don't know how many are going to be like, oh wow, Dune, that's my top list of movies for next year. I can't freaking wait to see Dune Part 2. I mean, if there's one movie that could benefit from like a new Barbenheimer situation, it's Dune Part 2, because I don't know how much enthusiasm a somber movie like that is able to generate. And even the trailer promises
Well, I think
going to be
I
a
think
more
it's important to note is that Dune Part 2 is not actually going to be much of a somber movie. It is going to be an action movie. That
yeah,
is
I
part and
hope so. But
parcel
the
of it.
first
But
one was a somber
let's
movie.
let's just get a bit of a background on Dune Messiah, right? So that is the second novel, Dune Messiah. Earlier this month, Denis
It's actually
Villeneuve spoke to the
yes, it's the
South
second.
Korean
Yeah,
press.
sorry.
Yeah. And said that it is being written right now. The screenplay is almost finished. So that indicates that it has basically been greenlit. At least they're paying someone to write the script. You don't write the script for fun. He's writing it because they've probably offered him cash to do it. But it is not finished. It will take a little time. There's a dream of making a third movie. It would make absolute sense to me, which makes a lot of sense. Jeff Snyder, who is relatively reliable leaker, is hearing that Warner Brothers has already given a third film the green light. That's can't actually be the case because Warner Brothers can't green light it. They only fund 25% of it. It's actually a legendary movie. So not quite understanding that, to be fair. He is reliable, but it's a legendary property, not a Warner Brothers property. So he says, so maybe take this one with a pinch of salt. I'm already hearing rumblings that Warner Brothers is so bullish on Villeneuve's vision for Dune that Part 3 has already been greenlit with a 2027 release date in mind.
Wow.
Warner Brothers sees Part 2 as a home run, and internally, I'm hearing the studio is already projecting an opening north of $100 million. That may be optimistic, but given the trailer above, hardly out of the question. It's a legendary movie. It's not a Warner Brothers movie.
Well, remember though, when I think I pointed it out on your podcast before, Mr. H, and you went and looked it up. There was the time when the Dune trailer was outpacing the Batman trailer, if I remember right.
Yeah, we looked
And
at
it
that.
had been out, and the Batman trailer had been out like a month prior to, and it was
Yeah.
already outpacing it. And I'm looking up like the DVD sales and Blu-ray sales here. Did fairly well considering it dropped on streaming right away. It made almost $20 million in video sales. The first one did.
Yeah.
So it's not horrible.
No, not at all. It was pretty decent, to be fair. So look, I don't. Maybe Jeff Snyder's just. Maybe he's just putting this with that, and he's just going, "Hey, Warner Brothers, the studio." As
Well,
opposed
like
to
you said, it's
Legendary.
down to legendary, really, at the end of the day, too. I think anyway, they could keep going with it if they wanted to.
And that's
It's
what it looks
Legendary's
like
property.
to me, because
Yeah.
he's hearing that. Because here's like the thing, this is something that he is hearing. There's no official announcement. What he's heard is that they believe in it and they want to do it. You're right, though. There ain't no green light here. This is him reading into the situation. This is his interpretation of what he has heard. But there's one key figure here, and this is a number that I think we need to keep track of. The studio is already projecting an opening north of 100 million. What that means is, and I think we can trust this to me is the important thing. If Dune Part 2 opens to 100 million, we're getting Dune Messiah. If it doesn't, it will have disappointed the studio. I mean, this is the Man of Steel all over again, where they went out and they said, oh yeah, we're expecting this movie to do 1 billion. Here we don't know the final tally, but now we know, or we have very good reason to suspect, that this is the internal projection for the opening weekend. If it does anything less than that, the sequel is in trouble, because then they'll consider it disappointing. So now we have a number. So everyone, feel free to clip this and everything. There's our number. There's our magical number to keep track of. Does Dune 2 open to 100 million? Yes or no?
Yeah.
It's going to be the key number to how fast Dune Part 3 is greenlit. Because, yeah, I agree. That's why I said, oh, I hope that they're going to start filming it right now, because I don't believe it really has a green light. but I think that will be quickly forthcoming, because here's like the thing: it's actually more parties that has to greenlight it. You're right that Legendary are the ones that has to give the final green light, but distributor Warner have to give the first. They are the ones that have to let Legendary know that yeah, this is a movie that we actually want to make, and we want to continue to fund the 25% of it. Or they're going to have to let them know that, you know what, we're not interested, so you take this and go to Universal or something, but we're out for this.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's the
Green
only
light.
part that has me kind of worried too. Is I'm not so sure that they're going to think it's dead in the water if it makes under 100 million. I mean, even Oppenheimer opened with like what 80 million.
Then
And
it's
that's
going to
still
depend on legs, but then it's going to be
yeah. I was gonna say, but I think you're right. What gives me pause is that they pushed out a sequel possibility to 2027. See, that was kind of the same thing with when I saw the original announcement for the Batman, and they didn't rush to get that even out any sooner either. It's like, well, if they were in such a
Very
hurry
slow
to
on
get
that
another one
sequel.
out, they would have jumped on that shit right away because that's a quick movie to be able to put into turnaround.
Well, it might be Villeneuve's schedule.
It could very well be, but that's a long.
No, it is long. I agree. I'm just saying that maybe
That's
that's
5
why, but I
fucking
don't know.
years.
Yeah, it's a long
That
ass
you
time.
don't make that kind of a thing like that unless you're like Andre said, you're kind of hedging your bets. Because now I turn around and I wonder, because if you'll know Andre is right, also if it turns around, let's just say for the sake of argument, it does manage to break near that $100 million opening or better, and they instantly they're going to push that date up. We're going to hear the
Yeah.
movie's going to be out more like 2025 or
Well, they
around
did the
that time
second
period.
one quick turnaround, didn't
Yeah,
they?
yeah. That's my well, and that's what we were understanding was that the first film was, because my understanding isn't this one cheaper budget wise too, Andre? Because the first film was kind of amortizing a lot of shit for the sequels in the series
Yes,
that never
this is true.
happened.
This is true.
Mm.
All of the because basically when you do a trilogy like this, you're essentially doing a TV series. And in a TV series, all of the major startup costs, especially, well, think of this as a sci-fi series, like it's like Star Trek or something. You have a brand new bridge, you have a brand new starship, you have to design everything new. It costs a shit ton. But this is something that is then amortized over the course of 7 seasons, right? It's the same thing here. They have to do all of the major designs, all of that has to be done in the first movie. But once it has been done for the first movie, now you have the world. Now you can amortize that cost over the course of the next sequels. Of course, that's going to be offset by the rising cast costs of the sequels, because now suddenly, since the first one is assumed to be a
Yeah,
hit,
but
everyone
spoilers,
wants
don't a
to
bunch
watch
of them start
the
falling
sequel.
off as you go along anyway?
This is true.
So of
This
course
is very
there you have like one thing that's positive, but it's quickly offset by other things. So still going to be a very expensive endeavor.
Yeah. Well, got to get to culture and Nick on this. What do you reckon? Did you like Dune? Would you be keen for Dune 3?
So for me, the first one was kind of slow and boring a little bit. I wasn't a big fan, but I didn't hate the movie. I didn't think the movie sucked by any means, but it just wasn't for me. It just it's kind of slow and boring. Visuals were awesome. The second, third one, I could take them or leave them. They could cancel both of them, and I really wouldn't care.
Wouldn't be
Now, Coach,
affected.
on the other hand, he is a huge Dune guy. Absolutely loves it. It was the best movie he'd seen in theaters all year. The year that it came out, he's super hyped for these next ones. But it's kind of a throwaway for me, honestly.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's
Culture.
cool.
I am looking forward to the next film. I really did appreciate the first one. It was very close to the original. I don't know if a lot of people really know that. Probably haven't read the Herbert books or anything, but I think that if this film stays real close to the lore, I think that a third film to coincide with the Messiah aspect of the story is a good idea. I would see it.
All right. All right then.